I want to talk about something no one warns you about. People think leaving is the end of the abuse.
Yeah, but for a lot of people, that's when it actually starts. And that's the part that makes people feel crazy. You left, but you're still being affected. Welcome back to the Touch My Health podcast. My name is Matt.
I'm Katie.
I know I've often thought to myself, why am I still struggling to move on?
On this episode, we're breaking down the seven most common questions from people who have escaped the relationship but are still experiencing abuse from their ex. So, before we get into it, what experience do you have with your past that resonates with this topic?
Well, for our new followers and those that may not know, I was married to a narcissist. I didn't know it at the time. And in my experience, when people think of narcissists, they think of men.
Yeah.
And in my case, and many others, I'm sure, women can also be the narcissist in the relationship. It does not pertain to one sex. And at the time, I just thought she was selfish. But as our marriage deteriorated, I realized that this was more abusive behavior than anything. And after we split, it didn't stop. The victim mentality persisted and actually increased because we had a daughter. The no contact wasn't an option.
Yeah.
But this access only helped the abuse to continue to grow. I got the text of, if you loved your daughter, you do this, or the typical running my name through the mud to anyone that would listen. I was the biggest piece of crap that she'd ever come in contact with, and it was to the point where she had convinced her boyfriend that I physically abused her, which
What?
never happened. And so, of course, he took her side. He threatened me, thought he was,
Yeah.
thought he was gonna bow up on me. But, meanwhile, the whole story wasn't being told. It was only her side of the story that was being told. And it came to the point where I literally had to just cut people off because they would come to me, they'd tell me things that she was saying, a lot of it untrue. And I was unable to heal and move on as long as this was happening, which, similar to you, I often thought, why am I still struggling to move on? Well, it was because the abusive behavior was continuing even after we split.
That does make it extremely hard. And that's what a lot of people don't realize and they still get confused about. So, first question that people often ask is, why does the abuse feel worse after I leave?
This is one of the most common questions.
And it's confusing because you're out of the relationship,
Right.
but your body doesn't feel safe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it still feels like, you have that fight or flight set in or something along, those lines. Your still nervous system is still struggling.
Right.
And leaving removes their access to you, but it doesn't necessarily remove their control attempts. And sometimes it doesn't even really remove their access, which we'll, get into also.
So while this is going on, the nervous system is still activated. Your nervous system is on high alert. It takes time to reset and get yourself back into alignment. That doesn't happen quickly, so it can make you feel worse even after leaving.
And the abuse becomes indirect
Mhm.
versus direct. And what I mean by that is indirect is more subtle, covert, may
Yeah.
not be immediately recognizable. And we'll get into some of those methods more later on, but leaving threatens control, and control does not go quietly. You have to remember that.
I agree. That covert narcissism, the covert abuse is it's
Sneaky little devil.
very sneaky, and those are the ones that are manipulative and uh, knowingly manipulative, I feel like.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Question two, why did they change only after I left?
people often ask this with a lot of pain behind that question
Right.
because suddenly there are apologies, promises, concern,
The f-
kindness can be a strategy too.
Yep. And that's not growth. It's an attempt at regaining your power or their power and control over you. It's the false promises.
Yeah, all of a sudden you get the sudden apologies, the false promises, like you said, once you leave. I'm so sorry. I've changed, I'll
Oh,
never
yeah.
do that again. Like I didn't realize what I lost until you left. Um, you know,
The I just want closure.
yeah.
We need to talk so I can have closure.
Yeah, so I can have closure. I need closure, or I'm worried about you, trying to use it as a typical manipulation tactic to make you question, you know, am I okay? What do you mean you're worried about me? Or in the case that, you never felt like they cared about you, and now all of a sudden I'm worried about
Yeah.
you. Are you okay? And it makes you question your ability to leave the abuse behind.
And another one is the why are you doing this to me? They're going to play that victim. They're going to be like, well, I don't understand why you're doing this to
It was
me.
perfect. What do you mean?
I
I
was
did everything for you. Why are you doing this to me? Yeah, victim, 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 victim,
the
victim.
the victim mentality is strong, and when you can recognize that, I've dealt with the victim mentality coming from my childhood. I had to deal with it with my mother. My mother was always the victim
Never
when
her fault.
no, it was never her fault. She would hit me, and it was because I did something bad, and that was the reason that, she hit
Mhm.
me, and that abuse was just strong, and the victim mentality was, overwhelming. But whole nother topic. Change without accountability isn't change. It's a smokescreen to get you back in their life and under their control again. If they could change after you left, they could have done it before.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Not to say people can't change, because I know I certainly have, but it takes a lot of time, self-reflection, and a hell of a lot of accountability.
Yeah. And a lot of accountability for your mistakes, not just, I'm sorry, and then no action behind it. I think I saw, oh God, what is it? I wish I could remember like the quote directly, but it's, something about saying sorry
Hmm.
with no action behind it is just manipulation, and
Oh, I
then
love that.
refusing to be held accountable for it is like gaslighting or something.
Oh,
I don't know. I
100%.
wish.
Yeah. Question three. Why do I feel pulled back every time they reach out?
This question often carries a lot of shame. People feel shameful, like, why am I still feeling like this every time they reach out?
Right. It, it,
Um,
it makes people think that they're weak.
and that's not true at all. Trauma bonds don't dissolve instantly. They didn't form instantly, they
Yep.
don't dissolve instantly. And messages reactivate the nervous system, triggering the fight or flight response to stress or perceived threats, increasing your heart rate, alertness, energy, all of that. So familiar chaos sometimes can feel safer than silence,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah, that's what you're used to. You're used to that chaos. That is your normal. That's familiar to you. And most of the time people are, carrying the hope in the back of their mind that your person, your ex,
Yeah.
your spouse, whoever it is, will change. And somehow magically they'll be a different person. And it goes back to what we said, people can change, but it takes hell a lot of effort. And every time they reach out with an I miss you, or I miss us, you feel pulled right back into that web, that
Spider web, yeah.
spider web of chaos.
Yeah. Your body learned to associate them with relief, not
Hmm.
safety. And this is why no contact is so important. You have to give your body and yourself time to realign and,
Yeah.
get your nervous system back in order to where if something like that comes across and they message you with that, you're to the point where you can see the game in it and you can see
Right.
that they don't mean anything by
Mm.
it.
Yeah, and being on constant alert, you're just high anxiety. Your fight or flight mode is just constantly triggering, and it
Yeah.
just is so unhealthy to live in that fight or flight mode.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we've talked about that, all the actual health risks and things that can
Mhm.
happen to your body from staying in that.
Yep.
So, question number 4 is why are they telling people a different story about me?
I got a lot of this one. This is where things really get destabilizing. Once they realize that you're moving on, they're going to come out with that smear
Yeah,
campaign.
here comes the smear campaigns.
They're going to run your name through the mud to anybody that will listen.
And smear campaigns are designed to isolate you,
Hmm.
right? And rewrite history, making you vulnerable to their need for reconciliation, because oftentimes you feel you'll need to correct whatever it is they're saying,
Right.
because now you're not just healing, you're being misunderstood,
Yeah,
right?
the need to correct their story is changing, trying to change or rewrite history and chasing their words, and that's something that is another unhealthy thing to do is try and change that.
Yeah. And smear campaigns also involve preemptive narratives. And so, preemptive narratives are stories an abuser will tell before you can tell your own,
Yeah,
specifically to control how other people interpret the breakup and your behavior.
yeah, they have to be first. They got to tell that story first, and it's not accidental. It's strategic. They need to be the first one to tell the story, so people are taking their side automatically.
Right.
And there's a couple of examples of things that you might hear from the abuser. The I'm really worried about them. They're not in a good place mentally. They've been really emotional lately. When they say things like that, it's a strategic plan
Mhm.
of control and manipulation. So when you later express pain, you later, say how angry you are, or you express the boundaries, it confirms the story that they already told.
And they don't outright lie, they leave out context.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sometimes they do outright lie, but a lot of times it's leaving out a lot of context
Right.
because they just mention your reaction and they omit the months, years, that led up to it.
All the
They
events that lead
they
up
just
to.
share
Yeah.
only the moment that you either finally snapped or, oh my God, I can't, why did she leave? Like, that's crazy. It's out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You look irrational, they look calm.
That's the manipulation where they are looking calm in that situation, but all of that feed into the fight, the breakup, whatever it is, makes you look like you're the crazy one, and you just blew up and
Mhm.
it flew off the handle for no reason.
I feel like oftentimes it's the quietest one after the breakup. That's who I tend to feel like they're not the abuser. Or if speaking in context of if it was an abusive relationship, when
Okay.
you have
Yeah.
the people split up. The one I feel like who's more quiet and not out there doing the most or saying lines like
Mhm.
this and things like that,
Right.
they're probably the one that um, got abused in some form. And the other one is trying to do like what we're talking about because
Yeah. Yeah, I can agree to that 100% because that was the a lot of the road that I took
Mhm.
when we split and we got divorced is I was the one that kind of took that back seat. I wasn't out there campaigning for
Yeah, me neither.
for people to be on my side. I mean, I was definitely not the perfect husband. I didn't do great things, but when it was time to split up, I definitely took the quieter role, I would say.
Quiet place.
When
Yeah.
when someone tells a story about you before you ever speak, it's usually because they're afraid. of what the truth would expose. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Like we said, they have to get that preemptive narrative in there. They have to, and they're scared. Yeah, they're scared about anything truthful coming out because when the truth comes out, they're not going to they're not going to look like the person they're portraying themselves to be.
Question number 5. Do I need to defend myself or stay silent?
This is a really hard decision to make, especially depending on, I think, like your personality and the kind of person you are.
Yeah,
Um,
because
it's hard.
yeah, well, defending yourself can keep you feeling trapped, and suddenly you're not healing.
Yeah.
You're just defending yourself constantly.
Yeah, and you're left deciding whether to explain or protect your peace. And sometimes that's a hard decision to make, but
Mhm.
not every lie needs correction. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Peace sometimes costs visibility. And what I mean by visibility is you not being totally present and visible, maybe out in the open as much as you used to be, kind of more
Mhm.
keeping to yourself and being very specific with the people that you hang around. And boundaries also don't deserve, or I'm sorry, boundaries don't need explanations, right?
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
You don't have to explain your boundaries or new set boundaries that you have or why, you don't owe anyone explanations. Silence doesn't mean that they're right. It means you're choosing not to engage in harm. Okay, question 6. Why can't I heal yet if the relationship is over?
This is where people start blaming themselves. That's that self-doubt, that's the self-blame.
Yeah, healing can't happen while access also continues, which is why, again, no contact is so important.
Yep.
And no contact also means letting those people close to you know that you don't want them to bring things to your attention, right? Like I have a friend who's in a situation where I think sometimes she's has friends or people close to her that'll be like, "Oh my God, I saw this picture," or they'll send her stuff. And
Toxic.
yeah, and like look at what he's doing or she's doing now, or bringing them up because they think you want updates on something. And a lot of times the abuser will do things like that on purpose, like post pictures
Yep.
with their new supply,
100%.
their new love of the
The
week.
week. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah, or go out of their way to make sure your friends give you updates on certain things. And this is because they want your reaction.
mhm.
Reaction is still saying that you care. That's
Yes.
still access. They still want that emotional access to you.
And that feeds their ego.
Yeah, and they still want to know that they can get to you.
hmm
So you can't let them. And that means letting those people close to you know, like, please don't, I don't want to hear anything. I don't
Yeah.
know. No contact means not just myself, but it also means like the people close to me. Don't, if you see him or her out and about, or you see this picture, you hear this story, keep it to yourself. Like, I'm taking care of me. I'm
Right.
working on me. Your healing needs safety,
Yeah.
and recontact reopens wounds.
And if you're that friend that gives the constant updates, stop because that shit is toxic. If you set as the victim or the other person, you set that boundary, hey, don't tell me anymore, and then that friend continues the updates,
Well, then, yeah, you need to just, yeah.
cut that off because again, very toxic.
Yeah.
You don't need that open wound because every time
Yeah, like I said,
you get that update, it
it's
just
another form of recontact.
yeah,
And your nervous system needs consistency.
yeah, you can't heal with that consistent update and if you've said no contact, that's what that should mean.
Yeah, you can't regulate your system too while you're still being emotionally accessed.
Question 7, did I make the wrong decision about leaving?
This, I feel like probably almost everybody has asked themselves this,
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure I did.
Mm-hmm.
This is where the question comes up when things get tough and you start to doubt yourself. You start doubting the future and what your future is going to look like.
And it's understandable. I mean, difficulty does not mean wrong choice, right?
Agreed.
Oftentimes, the most difficult choices are the right choices. I mean, good things aren't easy. Sometimes people think it's easier to just give in and go back because it's too hard to heal and get away from their abusers, but you have to be patient and take the necessary steps in your healing journey and remind yourself that just because it's difficult doesn't mean it's a wrong choice.
The fact that it got harder doesn't mean leaving was wrong. It means that it mattered. And I can remember the time that I was sitting on my patio. My ex-wife and I had just split up. She moved out. I was still in the place we were living in. I was sitting on the patio one day, having a beer by myself, and really doing a lot of reflection and future thinking. I mean, we were going to be raising a daughter now together, but separately, co-parenting and whatnot. And I was really having a lot of that self-doubt. I was questioning,
Motivations.
yeah, I had, a lot of uncertainty about what my future looked like. And I was doubting if I was making the right choice. And I thought to myself, this is a really good time to put my faith in God and let that this situation play out as it's intended. And so I went and got a faith tattoo on my forearm, and I get to look at that because it reminds me that if you have faith, things will get better.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that 100%. Um, I mean, I didn't have a similar story to where I went out and got a tattoo, but I mean, I got tattoos, but that's because my ex didn't really care for women with tattoos, I think, even though when he got with me, I already had tattoos, but whatever. But I know when we were getting divorced, he wanted to, and this is how I think he was trying to make me doubt whether I made the right choice or not, is because
Uh,
he wanted to have us like FaceTime everybody. He wanted us to FaceTime my parents, his parents, our friends, and, basically make this whole to do about how we're getting a divorce. And I think it was because on FaceTime, you're on video. He wanted to also make it known that, like,
yeah,
this was not my idea. This was her idea,
right.
And then have them respond with something along the lines of, like, oh my God, why? Like, can't you do this and work it out, or blah, 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 and get me to start doubting my decisions. At least I think that maybe was the intent, or it was just, you know,
Control and
yeah,
manipulation
I don't know.
and
And we did it with my parents, and his stepmom and dad, and it was the most uncomfortable
oh
thing.
yeah,
I was like, this is, I'm not doing this again.
right.
Like, I'm not.
Those are conversations that should be left
You owe
between
it to me.
the two people in the relationship. Those conversations should
Yeah.
be kept in house, and you don't need to broadcast the
We
why.
don't, yeah.
And that to me screams narcissism, because just like we were talking about, that controls the narrative. They get to say their story first. They get
Hmm.
people on their side, and like you said, he wanted people to maybe talk you back into the
Yeah.
relationship,
Or something.
and that is
Really happened.
clearly not.
Yeah.
But it feeds their ego and points them as the victim.
Hmm.
And they're the calm one. You're the one that is blowing up and you're going crazy. And,
Well, yeah, and I wasn't
you
blowing
know,
up or going crazy. I mean, I cried, but it was because it was uncomfortable and
oh,
I was
yeah.
upset.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can't imagine having that conversation,
it's one of the most
FaceTiming.
awkward things
Yeah.
I've ever done. And I look back on it now and I'm like, I should have just
Said no.
stood up for myself more and said, no,
Yeah.
this is like you said, an in-house, this is a me and you thing. Like,
Yeah.
sitting our kids down and telling them was one thing. That's understandable. We're all in the same household.
That's necessary.
making a big ordeal about FaceTiming everybody together to let them know we are getting a divorce. Yeah, that was, I think, just his way of trying to get me to doubt myself or have people try to talk me back into it, or
Yep.
just paint himself as like, see, I'm being left. She's leaving me.
That victim mentality, very strong.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was the poor, gentle soul that, he was being
Yeah.
left because of, you know,
Because he didn't know why.
oh, the victim mentality. That one is a real hot button for me.
Yes, it is, but it's also a hot button, not just because of relationships, but other things.
You
We can
know,
do a whole segment on victim mentality, and it's it's not a good place to stay. Don't live there. It's not a good home to be at.
agreed. So, in closing, let's talk about what actually helps.
Well, I would say clarity, thinking clearly, right? Take the blinders, goggles off, get your head out of the clouds, think clearly. So a lot of clarity, distance, distance,
Yeah.
support, having a really good support system around you, knowing, and not saying it has to be small or big, but just knowing who your core people are, who your support system is, who's going to be there for you, and understanding that it takes time, having patience, um, making your healing a priority and putting continued effort into yourself and understanding that this takes time. It didn't happen overnight. It's not going to be healed overnight.
Hmm.
Patience.
Yeah, those are things that will help stabilize
Hmm.
and ground you.
Yeah.
And learning that you don't owe anyone continued access. You don't need to allow them into your world if you don't want to. Remember the good times. I love to say this. Remember the good times. Put those on a shelf, but also remember the bad. Remember why you left. Recall those fights, all of the arguments, the living in the past, recalling the past is it not always healthy, but if you live in the past, it's unhealthy. But remembering why you left will keep you from going back. I know it did for me. I mean, that
Mhm.
recalling all of the fights and remembering my reason why.
Absolutely. It for me, it was more what helped me stand firm in my decision to leave and
Hmm.
not go back because once I left, that was pretty much it. There was really no going back. But it was for me, the first step of leaving was the hardest.
Oh
And
yeah.
getting through that conversation and remembering why I am making this decision and remembering why I'm leaving, that is really important, and that does help and prevent you from going back too. And if you left and the abuse didn't stop, that doesn't mean you failed. It means the abuser didn't want to lose control,
Hmm.
right? They cutting off access, speaking only through attorneys, meeting up in public places to exchange children, building your boundaries with the abuser and sticking to them. These will help you in the healing direction.
Yeah, agreed. If this helped you, hit the like and subscribe button to our channel. If you're having a hard time identifying abuse, comment or message, send us a message. This is what we talk about here, and we'd love to help. It's really
Our
we're
passion.
what we strive for is to help others and let you know that you're not alone. We've been through some things and we've seen some things.
Yeah.
We're not licensed therapists, but damn it,
No,
we've been through a lot. So,
these are our opinions
uh-huh.
and experiences. But go and follow us on our other socials, TikTok, Instagram. They'll be linked in the description of this episode. And we will see you on the next one.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.